Good morning, good
Oh,
afternoon, good
okay.
evening, wherever you are. I'm Carl
Absolutely.
Wilder.
I am in a car again. And I'm Natasha Cohen in a car again, but this time we are leaving London and going back to Berlin.
Okay. So, with everything that's happening, and I hate to even mention it, what's on your mind this morning?
This is the way you've got to go. Okay, way out, no exit. Okay, I see. Right now, it's how to get out of a Shell station, to be honest
Oh,
with you.
you're at a Shell station. All right. So, you got gas on your way back to Berlin.
Nope, got coffee on my way back to Berlin.
Coffee is incredibly
It,
necessary.
absolutely. And this is the first one of the morning, but certainly not the last one.
I just in Spain, I just had my teeth cleaned and polished, and the dentist used a 16% peroxide in the polish to remove any staining. And after she'd
Yes.
done that, she goes, "My God, you are very stained. How much coffee do you drink?" Good
Oh,
morning, David.
very
Hello
good
there.
morning to you, David, dear.
Hello, everybody. How are you all?
We
Very,
are
very
well.
well. And you?
Nearly
Now,
awake.
my friends, I would like to introduce you to Mr. David Tabizel, an absolutely remarkable man. And I say that, and he's going to say, oh, shucks, no. But he really, really is a very dear friend of mine and a remarkable man. So there we are.
All right.
Thank you for the
Well,
introduction.
I, of course, read your Wikipedia page and did the normal Google searches to find out a little bit about you. And one of the things that we always talk about here is the experience of being an immigrant or an expat, which you have done more than once. So start there. Tell me the countries that you've lived in and the experiences that you had becoming a part of that culture.
Well, I think the problem about being an expat is it's very tempting to remain in your own bubble. So I first wandered off and lived outside the UK. I was brought up in London. Um, I went off to live in Costa Rica for about 18 months in the 1980s, and well, that was exciting. Again, though, although I was beginning to learn Spanish, it was we were sort of sandwiched in the middle of two countries, Nicaragua and Panama, that were having civil wars, and I ended up just talking to Americans. And though I had a little early relationship with a lovely Costa Rican girl, which kept me there for a while, felt bubbled, and in the end, um, even though I was only in my early, I think really I longed to get back to England. Having then spent about 10 or 12 years working my head off. Building investment banks and internet companies and media companies,
Mhm.
I disappeared off when I wanted to have a family in my early 30s. I lived in Guernsey, which is a little island off the coast of France, which is owned by the British. And I felt incredibly isolated on a city with 50, 60,000 people. And then went to live in Spain on and off for 15, 20 years. And that was exciting. But again,
About 3.5 miles. At
although
the
I
roundabout,
although I lived
take
in
the second exit to
oh
merge onto the M25 towards
somebody's been
Gatwick
told where
Airport.
to drive.
Yeah, I think we're
Yes, I'm in
hearing
the
the
car.
GPS in the car.
That's all right. I thought maybe I was developing schizophrenia and I was having voices in my head, which could be an interesting little existential adventure. No, I lived in Marbella and I lived there. My kids went to school there. But again, the problem comes if you don't really push yourself. It's very easy to just slip into hanging out with people who speak your own language, and that was difficult for me as well. However, during that period, I also spent years living in the States, commuting backwards and forwards, making films and launching internet companies. I then moved to Malta. Again, that's English speaking, and that was fascinating. I lived in Switzerland for 2 years, and I think I lived in other places, but I can't remember. I just have this urge to wander. Interestingly, you're both in Berlin, aren't you? If I'm
Well, actually, at the moment, I'm in Spain. I'm in Sevilla, Spain. Natasha's in the car headed back to Berlin.
right, okay. I've just applied for my
But
my German passport. So
You have. Are you in Germany now? No.
no, I'm in North London. Yeah.
You're in North London, but you applied for a German passport. What's that about?
Well, my mother, who sadly passed 2 or 3 years ago, she was born in Wiesbaden, and she was Jewish, and she walked across Europe with her mother. They were tipped off, so the story goes, by a friendly SS officer that things were happening, and they managed to get out by foot, and then and they had a little bit of money, but someone who was arranged by this gentleman apparently met them on the Swiss border, and then robbed them and left them for dead. And they managed, with the help of a sort of an underground movement that sheltered Jewish people, we managed to get to Belgium, where they got on a boat to go to Argentina, but apparently it was torpedoed, and they were and they ended up on the Isle of Man, and that's why I was born in London in 1965. Yeah.
Wow, that's a story. So you are always moving around the world.
I know.
And do you speak Spanish now?
Do I speak Spanish? Yes. No me acuerdo mi español, pero necesito practicar. But yes, I try to, but very bad. I'm also a bit deaf. I wear hearing aids, so I only realised that a few years ago. So if you can't hear what someone's saying, it's very. But also, I was drunk most of the time I was in Spain, I think. I love Spanish.
That actually helps my Spanish enormously. I've been in school for 4 months learning, and last night I was out with a group of Spanish people, and after 2 glasses of wine, my Spanish improved because I was not afraid to use what I thought I knew, even if I made a mistake.
Right, and you're in Sevilla, huh?
See,
the best tapas, really amazing tapas, and some good football as well.
Speak camera ahead.
I love the tapa here. As a matter of fact, last night we were with a group. I was taking photographs because the chef that's taking over for me with the food tour business in Sevilla, it wanted to do a Nuevo Tapas tour, what the emerging chefs are creating, because everybody here is doing tours of tortilla, patatas bravas, the same things that we've been eating since 1917. And there's this crop of amazing chefs creating new things. And I got to tell you, I am excited about this because the food is phenomenal.
Oh, the food. I'm a huge food and wine fanatic, and the cooking in Spain is, I think, now the best. I was brought up on French and to some extent Belgian cooking. I make sure I spend 4 or 5 weeks in Spain every year just eating, and I discovered in the Canary Islands there's an island called Gran Canaria. Have you been to the Canaries, either of you?
Yes, I have.
Right. Well, in the north of Gran Canaria, the capital is Las Palmas, and
I know
exactly. And what I found was that it's a city of 700,000 people, and it. What's wonderful now is that you've got a lot of the chefs that can't afford to set up shop in Barcelona or Madrid or wherever else, and they've set up them. There's this huge food culture, and there's very low VAT and duty, and there are maybe 100, 200 extraordinary restaurants, all competing, but the cost of living's low, and so you can eat basically Michelin star food for €20 a head, and the wines are cheaper because I love the wines of Ribera del Duero, and it's extraordinary. The trouble is, I put on about 6 kilos in 2 weeks, so I'm just but I love it. In fact, I was thinking, because the climate there, it's like 20, 21 degrees every day through the winter, and so if you can have 21 degrees, and then for €21 you can eat a 3-course meal with 2 glasses of Ribera del Duero, looking at the sun, which is better than a £200 meal in London. Well, I think that's a damn good way to spend the winter.
I think you've just given away a travel secret that people are going to be flocking to, because it's one of my favorite places, and I agree with you about the food. It's outstanding and interesting. People have built on the Spanish tradition, which is excellent, and made things even better there.
Yes,
yeah,
Carl. Carl is a famous American chef.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
sorry.
I do a bit of googling as well. So
Oh,
listen,
okay.
I love San Sebastian, and for me,
Oh, yeah.
I was going there for 30, 40 years, but now it's too expensive. And you know, if you have a Chulaton de Buey, which is a fantastic aged, enormous, great thing, which I think beats all the American, all the American beef, which is incredible. In fact, I was lucky enough to when I made money in my 20s and 30s, I spent most of my life and my money running around about eating and drinking, and but
We should know each other.
yeah, and my anyway, but the point about this is that I remember going to Peter Luger in the States,
Oh, yeah.
which is obviously the great steakhouse in Brooklyn, and it was disappointing because the beef I'd been eating, and I've forgotten the name, but they blonde cattle in the north of Spain. They're extraordinary, and this stuff's hung for months, and then they scrape the mold off, and you eat this thing. And I remember when I lived in Marbella, there was a restaurant in a car park in Malaga, near the airport there, and it was a horrible place. It was it looked like an old industrial building. It looked like you'd be able to go there to buy your toilet parts, you know, if your lavatory exploded. Anyway, there was a door, and I was taken by a local, and you open up the door, and this place was called Los Frutos. It's not there anymore, at least I don't think it is. And inside there was a couple of big beefy bodyguards, and then there was a mafia don sitting there in front of 3 Bloomberg terminals, and they'd look at you and go, yeah, no. And if you got in, you then found you were in this strange, it was like if you've seen Doctor Who, it was like a TARDIS. It was a lot bigger than it looked, and they had hundreds of legs of jamon serrano and pata negra on the wall, but they then had this incredible fridge, which is about the size of most fast food restaurants. It's just a glass fridge with hundreds of types of most extraordinary beef in it. And it's clear that this was a sort of Spanish mafia hangout. And the story was that this mafia boss had his own cattle ranch in the north of Spain. And I ate these steaks. The steaks were, I mean, the porterhouse at a Peter Luger is, how big is that, Carl? How big would you say?
Porterhouse at Peter Luger in grams would be 800 grams. It's more than half a pound. Yeah, it's more than a pound. I'm sorry.
Okay, more than a pound or whatever. Yeah, so a pound would be 1,600. I think. So I'm getting confused. But anyway, the point about this is each steak you get, if you got the chulaton, which is the ox chop, would be 2 kilos each, and that's what you get. Clonk. And I once ate the whole thing and drank 2 bottles of wine, and genuinely ended up in hospital. But it was all right. I was okay. I just sort of sat there.
Well, I had Peter Luger before I had beef in Spain. I've been coming to Spain for years and years and years, but primarily to a little village in the Costa del Sol where I eat only seafood, which is extraordinary there. And I had beef here for the first time at a party, and I couldn't believe how much better it was than anything I'd ever tasted in the United States.
I love American beef, but I mean, if you've been to Argentina or Uruguay's got some incredible beef, but I love the northern. What was the village in Andalusia you went to? You were eating
I go to Las Boliches.
Las Boliches. I think I've heard of that, but then again, when you get to my age, everything sounds the same.
You know Fuengirola, where all the Brits go?
Where? Sorry?
Fuengirola?
I'm having trouble with
wrong?
I don't know.
Fuengirola, Fuengirola.
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 Fuengirola. Or we would say Fuengirola if we're British, yeah. Yeah, never mind. That's okay. Yeah,
it's a little tiny village next to.
Yeah, Las Boliches. Okay, I know where you are. I know, and you
tiny,
have all
and then the next one, we have Marbella over here, and yeah,
Marbella. Come on, sir.
Ja, Espanol ist nicht gut. Ich ist Deutsch, ja.
Entschuldigen Sie bitte. No, but the seafood in Andalusia is great, but Seville, where you are now,
yeah,
that is. There used to be I used to go and eat in nearby in Ronda, and there's a famous Spanish chef who we used to know called Danny Garcia. He's now a lot bigger, but he used to have this incredible restaurant up by well, in the center of this tiny Roman viaduct, and it was called Tragabuches, and he had a 30-course tasting menu. And every spring I used to go driving around with my friend Paco, and we used to go olive oil tasting, and we used to buy all the olive oil we needed for and it's incredible the difference in olive oils and taste, as you well know. But we used to finish it every year until he moved elsewhere in Madrid and everything else, became a superstar chef. We used to go to this place, and I have to say that I think on the final occasion I went there, I think it was about 28 courses that year, and I had to go and visit the lavatory and do it and act like the Romans used to halfway through the meal to make room for the
no.
I know, and I because at this point he was amused with us. He was feeding us all kinds of wines, and dessert wines with fish and weird things like that, and palate cleansing. I remember there was a sorbet that you could actually become drunk on. It was quite remarkable. But he said no. He said going off to be sick in a bathroom is a compliment. No, I didn't go back there again after that. But actually, my gourmet experience clearly has been mainly one of self-harm.
Yeah.
My grandmother was a chef, and she had she was one of the first women in the Michelin Guide, but she was also a gangster.
Oh, of course. Why not? Did she work with Meyer Lansky or?
No, she was English. She worked with the Craig gang. We used to go and watch her being arrested at the Old Bailey, but her food was so good that you couldn't have wine with it because it would take away the taste of the food. But the way she used to make a chicken curry, she used to take a chicken, and she'd go up at 3 o'clock in the morning and kind of. She used to basically look for stolen goods. I don't know if you know what a fence is. So we used to sometimes go with her, and she'd go to these strange markets. And there used to be these markets in London, which and I can't remember the word, but there were a few of them. One was called Club Row, one was called Bermondsey, and these markets, which were open in the middle of the night, say once a week, were exempt from the criminal law. If you bought stolen goods there, you had the legal right to them. It was a very strange anomaly, which was closed, I think, in the early 90s or the late 80s. But we used to go with her sometimes, and they had great food stalls. So she'd be trying to buy her stolen jewelry and her old bits of silver candlesticks or however she made her living. And before that, she'd been running restaurants. She'd be haggling, and she'd get freshly slaughtered chickens, just been brought over from France. She was obsessed with French chicken, and then she'd take it home. And her way of cooking a chicken, she'd take this huge pot, and she had about 9 dogs literally, and they'd be on the table and with their head stuck in the pot. So you had to get past that. But she'd take this chicken, she'd put in maybe 4 or 5 bulbs of garlic, 2 or 3 packets of butter, and some chicken stock that she'd been boiling out of bones for about 3 weeks on the stove nearby, and just cook it on the stove until this caramelized, garlicky, buttery chicken emerged. She'd crisp the skin and give you a chicken each, big bowl of French fries that had been cooked in peanut oil, and you'd eat that, and then you'd have to go home and buy some new trousers. But you couldn't drink wine. If you had wine, it would literally interfere with this. And everything she cooked, if she cooked beef, it would be slow cooked with hundreds of vegetables and onions until it just merged. And I still cook like that, but with less butter.
It's interesting how grandmothers have fueled absolutely everything in the culinary world. I know that I became a chef because of what I learned from my grandmother. And almost every chef or food person that I've talked to had a grandmother who was amazing in the kitchen.
Yeah, of course.
I had a grandmother who was amazing in the kitchen, as you
Of course. Now we didn't. Now my mother was very tall and very beautiful. Not that you'd know that from looking at me, and very well spoken and trained as a lawyer. And my can you hear me? Okay, by the way,
we can hear you, Natasha. It's coming in and out, but you're good.
Well, she's driving around
in a
industrial estate somewhere. Where are you, Natasha? Lovely.
M25.
Oh, you're in England, right? That's a bit of a hellhole, that motorway. Anyway, so my mother, I can't really show you the pictures because we're it's not really appropriate. But my mother was very beautiful and very tall, and you remember her, Natasha, and she was very well spoken,
of course,
and elegant, and trained as a barrister, and my grandmother was
the exact opposite.
Was a foot shorter, and she was fat, short, illiterate. She also speak like this because she was very German.
Oh yeah.
But she was a fascinating woman. She was a fascinating woman. Yeah, she was fascinating.
She was fascinating outside the family. She was basically she was a brilliant chef, which was her only saving grace. Because other than that, she was essentially an evil witch. On my 18th birthday, she gave me a watch, and you know, we're pretty used to in that family to anything she gave us had probably been stolen. And she gave me this watch, and on the flip side of it, gold watch, 18th birthday, it had "to Kevin" written on it. I always remember that going, "Oh, I'm not Kevin," and she gave me the watch. I went, well, I used to call her Bubba. You know, this is the Jewish word for grandmother. I said, "Thank you, Bubba." She goes, "Yeah, you like the watch?" I said, "Yes, thank you, Bubba." She goes, "Yeah, pay me later." So she was trying to sell me the watch on my 18th, but a stolen watch, and that's what she was all about. And you know, she was a crook. She used to steal money. She stole my birthday money once out of a jar, and that's what she was like. So anyway, when I was in my 50s, I'm now 60. A few years ago, we never knew who my mother's father was. And so I thought I'd do a DNA test, the whole family, and try and use Ancestry and 23andMe to. Oh, that's a lovely dog. Look at that. Ancestry and 23andMe to discover the roots. And I did the DNA test, and it had been rumored. My grandmother had told us that she had been. I'm sorry about this time in the morning, but she said she had worked as a prostitute in Wiesbaden.
Oh,
yeah. Yes, nice. So she said, your grandfather might have been a Nazi. So, you know, you think, well, okay, I'm a Jewish with a Nazi. So anyway, did the DNA test. I'm not. I'm 100% Jewish genetically, and so I thought, okay, so it wasn't a Nazi. It was a Jewish man. This my mother's father, and my mother was still alive at the time. But then I looked on 23andMe and found I had. Well, I now know I have 2,500 half siblings. So
2,500.
Well, we only know about 1,200 are definite. But yeah, the truth is that my mother, my father and parents in the early 60s had gone to a fertility clinic, and they treated my father's output, and well, basically it wasn't. He wasn't fertile, and so they found him a donor, but it turned out to be the doctor they'd gone to see. Now they'd gone to see him in 1964, but my biological father turned out to be a man called Bertolt Wiesner, born in 1901. He was the inventor of the pregnancy test, HRT, and artificial insemination. He also became a major psychologist and cross. Well, he invented the term PSI in paranormal psychology. But he set up a eugenics clinic, a fertility clinic in London, overseen by the Huxleys. So if you're familiar with Brave New World. And he worked out that one man adjusting himself twice a week could produce 20,000 healthy children a year. So we don't know how many. We don't know because only about 1% of people have been tested. But, you know, I'm in contact with maybe, you know, pretty regular contact with 70 or 80 of these siblings. They're great. There's hundreds and hundreds more. My first sister, it looks like, was born in 1919. He was Viennese. He left Vienna having completed an early PhD. Apparently, he did the first ever live organ transplant, although it was on a rat. Left with his best friend Karl Popper, and they he set up. I think it was a eugenics clinic, to be honest with you. And he was a very naughty man, but also turned out to be my mother's second cousin. So all my thousands of siblings are my mother's cousins, and she thought she had no family. But that's the German-speaking world for you.
But to be fair, I happen to know that most of your siblings happen to be very clever people, and people who have very well achieved achievers. Basically, your siblings happen to be high achievers.
Well, the ones
So,
that are
like
the
you.
ones that were the ones. Well, I don't know if I'm a high achiever. I think the fact of the matter is that the ones that have taken the test, it's a self-selecting sample. So
Right.
there might be somebody who's got the IQ of a hedgehog living in a cave somewhere, and they haven't gone off and spent the hundreds of dollars needed for genetic testing. So we don't
Yeah.
but
You'd never really know. Yeah.
No,
That's interesting. Now, one of the things that fascinated me when I was looking at your Wikipedia page is that you have, assuming this is correct, because I never assume anything on Wiki is correct, is that you want to do something in food television that's never been done before. And as someone who despises the Food Network, I'm curious what that is.
Well, first of all, I'm quite. Is that what it says on Wikipedia? What does it say? I have no idea. I don't look. Somebody else writes it. I don't. Yeah, I did try and edit something a few years ago, and they said, "Who are you?" So I thought, I can't be bothered. I mean, honestly, I did produce. I had a great friend. He died recently, I'm afraid. He was one of my very closest friends, and they've got to call me a man called Victor Lewis Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And great writer, great food critic. Really, for Britain, he was a sort of a trailblazer. He was the first great amusing food critic around the 1990s to 2000s. And he and I used to run around the world, eating and drinking, and I came up with the idea. I thought there's no Oscars for food and drink, so which is a very strange thing. A celebration. So I produced that on ITV with Victor and with Stephen Fry, and we should be making another one soon, hopefully. And I had I used to make. I could understand in the early 2000s how complicated it was if you're a visual learner or a verbal learner to make recipes from recipe books. So I started a company called Video Jug, and we must have made about 80 or 100,000 short films, most of which were high definition films on recipes, often by Michelin-starred chefs, but make it very simple. And there's still millions of people watching those around the world. And then I had another food business where we had a platform for people having dinner parties all over the world, and again, hundreds of thousands of people. There were hundreds of thousands of meals eaten like that, and you'd go into people's homes, and then we had master chefs and all kinds of people. So it's been a big part of my life. I live to eat. Obviously, you do too.
I kind of do, yeah. I do, and it's funny. I'm skinny as hell, and I feel like I eat an enormous amount of food.
Parasites, I'd say. Parasites.
I think so, or possibly a share with a little buddy that's now sound asleep on my lap.
Okay, all right. Well, I think if you care what you eat, you're not just going to be sitting there with a bag of potato chips and a jar of ketchup, So what have you discovered in Sevilla? What have you eaten? Where have you gone?
Oh, so many places. There's a restaurant I was at last night that, the English translation is garlic and water. And this is something we're adding to the new tapas tour. This is a chef. I'm sorry?
Ajo y agua?
Sí. Ajo de agua. Ajo de agua. And this chef was born in Sevilla from an Asian family. And she's incorporated that her father was Peruvian, her mother was Korean, and she's incorporated both of those types of ingredients into tapa, which is extraordinary. One of them she makes is a Peruvian style potato that's mashed with the mayonnaise and all of the spices that they use in Peru. On top of that, she puts a very spicy curry chicken and then pickled onions and serves it as a tapa with a garlic sauce.
Well,
mind-blowing.
I'm telling you now, you have maybe 200 to 300 restaurants around you. Have you been to Tribeca yet?
No, I've not been to Tribeca.
Okay,
That's a restaurant here?
Yeah. That's a wonderful restaurant, and it's sort of very famous for its it's very famous for its lobster. There used to be something called Taberna del Alvedero, but I think it's like that. There's something called Balbuena y Juezas. I remember that. And then, I think I'm just going to go. I'm sorry. I'm writing a book about football at the moment, which has to come out next month. The soccer.
Right.
But I don't want to. I want to go to Seville and eat everything.
Well,
sorry.
You're welcome to come. I mean, I'm only here for another 12 days, unfortunately.
Well, it's magnificent. How are you with the wine?
I came here to start a wine tour, and so I know the wine very well, and I love the wine here. Ribera del Duero is among my favorites, but
Ribera del Duero.
Duero. My pronunciation is terrible. I will admit it.
But that's okay. Pesquera is. Have you had the Pesquera?
See.
Okay, so Pesquera is from the Fernandez winery, and that's incredible. And although it's from the Tintafina grape, the Tempranillo grape, I used to work with a lot of sports people, so I used to go for dinner with a golfer called Nick Faldo, and he was obsessed with a wine called Petrus, which you know, which is unaffordable.
Sure.
Yeah, and the thing about this is, and that's a Merlot, but what we did was we found that you could blind taste the Ribera del Duero Pesquera, the Grand Reserva, and although it's from a different grape, it's identical, except it's 1/50th of the price. So I love Ribera del Duero, and you chill them, and but my liver looks like a map of Uruguay now because I've had so much. Sorry, carry on.
Well, my liver's good. Did you try the Pincho Paris?
The Pinchos. Well, the Pinchos are from the Catalan region. So
No, Pincho Paris wine.
Oh no, no. Do you mean Pedro? No, I don't know. What's that?
Pincho Paris is a relatively new wine in the Spanish canon, where they're blending a number of grapes, including Cabernet and Merlot, into the native varieties, and it makes for a wine with multiple notes. It's fruity, but it's deep. When you get into the Crianzas and the extra reserves, it changes and changes. It's an incredible wine, and I love it.
How exciting. Pincho. So, okay. Well, that's great. Well, I mean, wow, great. Well, when this is over, if someone can text me one to have, I'll find. Great. I love it. I mean, having lived there for so long, the notes and the taste of the wines, but the food, I don't. I'm sorry. What I really want to do now is spend half my year in Spain. It's just there's an honest. People really love it for what it is, and which is how France used to be. But France seems to have gone backwards.
Yeah, in some ways, yes. I adore Spain, and that's why I'm learning Spanish, because not that I ever plan on retiring, but if I ever were to retire, I would want to retire to Sevilla.
Really? It gets so hot in the summer, though. It's.
I love heat. I love heat.
You could probably cook a steak on your head out there. I mean,
I would be happy to.
Isn't it the hottest city in Europe in the summer or something like that? It's. I did go there once in the summer, and I couldn't. You couldn't. It's like 50 degrees sometimes. It's insane.
Yeah, I was here in a couple of years ago in July, and it was 45 degrees. And I was absolutely fine. People around me were melting, and I was trotting along the street like nothing, not even breaking a sweat.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, all right.
heat does not bother me, but even the tiniest bit of cold, and I start to shiver.
Oh,
Well,
you'll love Berlin. It's going back down to zero.
It's
How
going
old
back
are you,
down to
Carl?
zero
Yeah.
in Berlin.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh no!
Carl,
Yeah.
how old are you?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I never say out loud, but I've been over 35 for more than 15 years.
Right. So yeah. Well, I'm 60, and something happened to me in my 50s, where um, anything under 20 degrees, what's that, 70 Fahrenheit? Anything under that,
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I walk around in my house here sometimes with a heated gilet on. I can't stand it. My bones don't like it. So whereas when I was 30, it was too hot in the winter. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's
Natasha
exciting.
gave me electric socks for Christmas last year, and I wear them in the house with slippers when I'm in Germany, and it's even the tiniest bit cold. I've been using them here all winter long. They're incredible.
How long have you lived in Germany?
Zenyaden. Wow. Yeah, about 10 years now. It'll be 10 years. It was 10 years in March. Wow. Yeah. All
Why
right.
did you
10
why
years.
did why did you choose Germany?
Because it's half of my roots. My mother is German and my grandparents were German. So I knew it, but it was economically, it seemed like the best place in Europe to emigrate to. What I did not realize was the extraordinary sense of nationalism that would keep me from ever working in a restaurant in Germany unless I opened it myself. They don't want chefs or food and beverage directors who were not born there. Every single ad is native German level required, which is their way of saying, we will not hire you in a management position if you weren't born here. So I ended up working for a company from the UK, a company from Rome, a company from Paris, and now I have my own. And that and the novels keeps me in toast and tea.
Yeah, no, I can. It's a strange thing being an expat. Natasha, sorry.
Yeah, but it works. I'm
should-
happy I did it because I never would have created the life that I have now without going there. Go on, Natasha. Sorry.
But his novels are very good. So,
Well,
when he said
it's hard writing a book, isn't it? I'm jealous.
he was
Oh, don't be jealous. It's an interesting process.
going to write a book, yeah, well, he's written 3 or 4. Read it, and so
yes,
I'll
have a look. Are they? Do they?
I
Carl,
read
do they
it.
talk about food?
Did they talk about what?
No, not at all. They're they're mysteries.
You sound like an AI robot that's orbiting the Earth in a telephone box.
Well, I am
Oh, no,
now
you've
on the
cut out. We can't hear you.
M20 going south. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Marvelous.
Yeah. Well, go on. Nope. You.
Who are you asking, Natasha?
I told Natasha to
I've
go on, but she
completely
comes and
gone now.
goes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
She comes and
Do
goes.
you
Anyway,
ever play any
we'll get her.
records
Yes.
on the show?
Well, Natasha was a DJ with her show in Berlin. We were on the radio for 3 years in Berlin, at a small local station when we were asked to do the show for Expat Radio, which gets much more listenership in 25 countries than the little station in Berlin, who also then replays our show weekly. So it's kind of nice. It's interesting. Every once in a while, someone will tell me, "Boy, your voice sounds familiar," and I go, "Really? I can't imagine why."
Very good.
I have a face for radio, so I just went with it. But I do love radio, and I do love that people. It's interesting. We give an email address often for people to contact us, and they tend to find me through LinkedIn and not the email address we give. I don't know why that is. That people won't use the easiest communication tool, and they'll go for a more difficult one, searching, making a connection, and then sending a text. But it's fascinating to me.
It's probably simply that Google is not what it used to be, and you look for stuff there, and it doesn't. It's in an age of artificial intelligence, it's now just a business that sells you advertising. It's intriguingly, actually, I've been doing a lot more cooking recently and using AI for that, and it's really it's quite splendid. I use something called Perplexity. The other day, I said I gave it a list of ingredients just to see what happens, and it came up with some amazing stuff. So I did some chicken breasts with almonds and prunes, which I caramelized in a bit of butter, and
Mhm.
it was, and I wouldn't have thought about that, and it was fantastic. So literally, it's the other thing then is what I did was I took the recipe it created and I copied it into a dip from Perplexity into something called Google Gemini, and it
Mhm.
then created a picture of what it would look like. And guess what? It did.
Wow.
So the world is really. I just wish the damn thing would cook for me, you know. That's the other stuff. But yeah. Wow. Now, guys, unfortunately, talking of books, I with a quite a well-known radio personality and media figure over here. I'm writing a book about football and the business of football, and I have a publishers meeting that I have to a call I have to go very shortly and do. Speaking of books, and I've been struggling writing this book for a year, so I'm jealous of your productivity, Carl. Anyway,
Well, keep in mind we had a lockdown and I had nothing to do, and that's when I wrote the first one. And
what was it about? Was it about food?
well, the first one, no, none of them are about food exactly. The first one is about my early years. I had to fictionalize it a little bit because my mother said, "Make me dead if you're going to write about this." But when I was in my teens and 20s, I used to dub movies and mostly pornography. They were dumping every piece of garbage ever made onto video cassette and then DVD. So I dubbed garbage from all over the world. But then I went to Italy for vacation, got involved.
Sorry, hang on a minute. You dubbed porn films.
A lot of
Well,
them, about
you went
7,000.
7,000
Yeah, a lot of
porn films.
yeah, oh my God, is spritzen, ja, das ist gut. Yeah, I did thousands of porn films with hundreds of voices. I also did some film restoration that was really
porn?
interesting. No, not porn, like a few seconds of Jeanette MacDonald in a movie, a few seconds of different people when they had, a damaged print, because I could mimic voices, and do it to the point where it matched perfectly.
Can you do female voices as well? Can you
Yes,
do
of
women?
course. Would you like to hear Eartha Kitt? Because she is quite an extraordinary actress, darling.
Well, that's yeah. Yeah, well, that's not your normal life, is it? That's great.
No, it wasn't a normal life. And I ended up cooking in Italy. I went for vacation and stayed for years, being moved from kitchen to kitchen, covering, this one's having a baby, this one's going on vacation, go here, go here, go here, and dubbing porn for the mafia, moving all over Italy, and then being cast in the musical Hair and getting my entire cast involved in the dubbing of pornography. So that's what the first book is about. I had a UK publisher. They paid a lot of money for it, and then they went out of business and returned the rights to me. Thank goodness.
Let me just right away. What's it called? This book of yours, this one, because this is a it's essential reading. Clear book.
Filthy Blonde, but it hasn't been published yet because it was due to come out in January of this year, and the publisher went out of business. So what I got is the manuscript back with the editor's notes, and I'm working on putting those into practice, and then I'll start looking for another publisher because I think it has strong sales potential. It's very funny, and then I pick it up. We end it when I get married in San Francisco with Carol Doda and Jamie Gillis as our matron of honor and best man. The two, Carol Doda was a famous stripper, Jamie a porn actor, and then I pick it up 25 years later when I return to Europe. So it's.
To be honest with you, it sounds fantastic, but also I'm sure an autobiography would. Have you heard of a website called 11 Labs?
No.
So it's a British company, British American joint company, and
Mhm.
it's at the forefront of AI dubbing and voice generation. So you can it can tone your voice. But what it's doing, it has an app called 11 Reader, and so let's say you record a voice, or you can steal one off the internet or something and sample it. 3 or 4 minutes will do, and then it'll read the whole audio book to you. And I think that that could be a wonderful way forward for you with that kind of book. But to be honest, with your voice skills, you should probably record this as an audiobook, and
Oh,
you can,
I absolutely intend to. I mean,
but yourself,
because yeah,
you can publish it
I want to
yourself
do my own.
on Audible, but you can publish it on Audible, because and then you'll get all the revenues as opposed to 10%, like this silly book I'm writing. Well, I hope it's not silly, but I mean, it's the worst paid profession on the planet, being a writer. I used to write
I
books,
know.
non-fiction. It's terrible, terrible.
I just got
It's
a
an
royalty check
future.
for the first two detective novels of something like £119 for 3 months of sales. You know.
I tell you, that's quite good. It cost me
Well,
more in train fares to talk to the publisher than it does in terms of the advance. Carl, I have a real problem though. I do have to disappear off, but this has been an amazing pleasure. And you sound fascinating.
I wish we could get. Why don't you? I'll send you an email, and when you have time, come back and do the full 2 hours with us. That would be incredible.
All right, and I'll try to be a little bit more prepared. But as I say, my head is in my publishing thing at the moment, so I have
No,
to get it done.
it's fine. I'm really happy to meet you. This has been fun. Natasha, someday you introduce us in person, because I have the feeling we'd be great friends. Bye-bye.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much for having me on your show, guys. All right,
Thank you,
have a great
David.
day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, let's pray that your
Absolutely.
internet holds up,
Absolutely.
Natasha.
Thank you very much for coming, David. Thank
Where are
you
you
so
now?
much. But I think I have gone through the worst patch. I'm still on the M20.
That was great.
We're
We can hear you, which is what matters. I'm wondering if I'm gone. Oh, did I disappear there? Well, I'm going to keep talking just in case it's recording one of us. This is a little strange. Okay, it's you who's down. My mic is showing as recording. So if you can hear me, Natasha, you went through a rough patch. You're not recording right now. I'm just going to keep talking. David, thank you so much. That was a fascinating interview. I really appreciate that you came on, and we will be in touch. I intend to meet you for real someday. Natasha is a little bit off right now, which happens. We record these things live, so we're not always in sync when it comes to our internet. But here's a meme that's going around social media today that I think all of us should think about. Natasha will be back in a moment. Nothing in this world operates the way you think it does. Banks do not loan money. Governments are not empowered to protect you. The police department is not there to serve you. Institutions of higher learning and colleges are not there to educate you. The entire superstructure of the civilization in the Western world is a combination of brilliantly put together and well-planned schemes to direct the minds of the people in such a way as to serve their masters. And now that it's become apparent to a lot of people that the U.S. is a corporate oligarchy, I think it's really something to think about. How much of what you've been taught is true? How much of history has been the truth? How much of history has been a lie? We operate on the assumption that what we read is often true, and what we read is often not true at all. So it's become kind of a concern with me how much we've been lied to. It was a question I brought up with Natasha last week. How much of our history is a lie? How much of what we're told by our corporate masters is a lie? And we're going to see if Natasha's going to come back and join us. Let me ask her. Will you be able to come back on today? You are gone totally. Let's see what she has to say about that, but that's okay. I can ramble on by myself for quite a few minutes. Elon Musk is a good example of someone who's gotten involved with the government. Some say for the right reasons, some say for the wrong reasons, but he is an oligarch. He's a corporate oligarch that is heavily influencing the way the United States works right now. And we're watching it in real time. We're watching the changes in the US in real time as people realize that, oh, who was before Elon Musk? Oh, George and Alex Soros. Who was before them? There's always been an oligarch influencing the United States government. It's been the case since the murder of Kennedy. And people are waking up to the fact that the US is an occupied nation. Israel, AIPAC, they own control, whether it's blackmail through the Epstein or, P. Diddy parties, they own and control the US. It's become a terrorist state in people's minds because of the genocide in Gaza. But the owning of the US is something that people are just now starting to realize. And the reason they're looking closer is because Elon Musk is getting in there and he's exposing spending. And so they're looking at everything, right? They want to know what's going on in my government, and they're finding out everything they did not want to know. They wanted to hate Musk and vilify Musk. But when they deep dive into the facts of what's happening in the US government, it becomes really, really problematic. Who's been running things, and the fact that, Bibi Netanyahu is, in fact, the president of the US and Trump is just his service boy. Katie Halper, who's an incredible journalist, has been talking about this a lot. And I really appreciate her. It looks like Natasha is back. We'll see when we can hear her. Okay, turn your microphone on. Your microphone is off.
I am back.
All
can I
right.
say something of great
Yes, ma'am.
importance, dear?
Yes.
I had no problem in Germany
No problem with what in Germany?
with this.
With this what? You're frozen again. Okay. I'm just talking about the fall of Western civilization and how it's obvious the oligarchs are running the show. The curtain has been drawn, and we can see the wizard.
Which I seem to be doing again.
Okay, what
Yeah.
were you talking about? What doesn't happen in Germany?
Lack of coverage.
Okay, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. When
I
I'm
did
on the
2
train-
hours in Germany and I was fine. Not
Yeah.
one cut.
When I'm on the train going from Berlin to Paris, as I have to do reasonably often, I never have an issue. I never have an issue. It's in Spain, I have a lot of issues, and you're having them in the UK.
And I'm on Vodafone, so I really should have coverage. And I didn't. So, not very impressive Vodafone, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not requiring 5G. I'll be fine with 3G, 4G, whatever. But the point was for, a whole 10 minutes, I had no coverage, actually, probably more than 10 minutes.
Okay,
So,
so something is happening in France that is very interesting, and you have, of course, a great appreciation, affinity, and history with the country. So I'd like to get your take.
Sure.
You know that Marine Le Pen was convicted
Yes.
for some irregular
Half-baked,
spending
yeah.
from ages ago. As of now, 3 million French people have signed a petition demanding that Marine Le Pen's presidential ban is immediately overturned. There's a national rally going on, and they anticipate that there are 10,000 people who've hit the streets of Paris today. Tell me what your feelings on that.
Well, obviously, my feelings on Marine Le Pen is that I can't stand her, quite
Mhm.
obviously.
Well, it's not obvious
some-
to everyone. Not some people are just hearing you for the first time.
Yeah, okay. Well, I happen to have a strong dislike
And you're
for
frozen
Nazism.
again. There we go. Is Marie Le Pen a Nazi sympathizer? Well, we'll find out in a minute. Natasha has frozen again. That's usually me that freezes. Let's see. Let's find out a little bit about Marie Le Pen as Natasha is frozen. I got Jean-Marie Le Pen. Okay. Made a party co-founded by Nazi collaborators mainstream. You're back.
There we go. I seem to be back. Okay,
right.
I'm back. No, we're fine. We'll do.
And
the
you're
services there.
gone.
What did I want to say? Yes. I knew, of course, her father.
Yeah, Jean-Marie Le Pen.
Oh, you're frozen again?
No, you're back.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Jean-Marie Le Pen. I'm back. I knew her father. I mean, it is the fascist party of France. So, all in all, I'm not very fond of her. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
There's two cars going for the same lane in the middle. Oh, no crash. Okay, cool. But to stop her, no, I think that was wrong.
Okay.
I think that was wrong. It's half-baked charges. She didn't profit from any of the money. It's all, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree that people that I don't like should be allowed to run. And there's a lot of people I don't like, especially in politics. I don't like any of them, in general.
Indeed. But it's the old thing, dear. It's the, I hate what you stand for, but I will fight to the death your right to stand for it.
Yeah, that's why freedom of speech actually the was needed not because of the speech you like, but because of the speech you don't like.
Indeed. And I think we should tell the nice man in the White House about that as well. But that's besides the point. The point is, yes, I dislike her. Yes, I think she's an idiot. Yes, to many, many, many negative points about her. But I will fight to the death her right to say it.
Yeah, I agree.
Or else it's not a democracy.
Well, there's questions about that. I mean, the U.S. is obviously not a democracy, and there's one good thing that I think is happening in the U.S. right now. Not much, but there's one. The fact that Elon Musk has been so upfront and active and involved with the government is exposing the fact to people that the U.S. was, and has been a corporate oligarchy for the past half a century. They're looking at Elon Musk, and then they're seeing what was before him and what was before that and what was before that. And people are starting to realize that the politicians in the U.S. are largely puppets. They pulled up all of this footage of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer speeches from 25 years ago, essentially demanding tariffs be much higher on Canada and Asia, blah, 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 taking Trump's position where he is now. And they're seeing that it's just theater. If Trump says this, they say that. If this one says this, they say that. They go back and forth on their positions because their positions are not real. They're only theatrical posturing to make you think there's two sides. And there really is not. They're all the same side. The party is the party.
But, I say, and I maintain, of course, that I don't like what you're saying, but I will fight to the death your right to say it. It does not, really does not apply to Trump.
That he shouldn't have free speech?
Yes, he should have free speech, but I so disagree with what he's doing that I can't stand by him. I can't support
him.
Yeah.
No.
But
the good thing that is happening is that people are starting to see that it's been a show for half a century. And that's a good thing because it will, I hope, lead people to rejecting the two-party system and demanding a new way of government that is, not beholden to corporate oligarchs like Elon Musk or George and Alex Soros or any of the others that have been meddling in our government for ages.
Now, on that subject, the mayor of New York is going for re-election, but he's dumped the Democratic Party. I'm assuming he's not gone Republican.
No, he is not.
So is he standing up as independent?
Yes.
Have you looked into that?
Very little. I listened to the statement he made that he was not going to align himself with either party in the future. That was all I know.
Okay, so basically, he's doing what you're saying.
Yeah. Now, I don't like him at all. I think he's horrible in every sense of the word. So it's not that rejecting the two-party system will automatically bring great candidates. We still have to work on that. He's not a great candidate. He's been a terrible mayor. The city is in shambles from what I hear. My friends in New York have gotten to the point where they're afraid to ride the subways. It's really bad in parts of the city. Crime, problems, etc. So he hasn't been a great mayor, but I am hoping, beyond hope, that the rejection of the two parties will cause some decent people to come forward.
I think that's a good idea. But the issue I think we have is if we create a third party, okay, whatever we call it, the independent party, then it will very quickly be overrun by people trying to make money out of it as well. There doesn't seem to be a way you can win. I mean, you can run without having someone behind you throwing millions of dollars in your face saying, do this for me.
Well, how
do we fight that?
Ranked choice voting and the elimination of the Electoral College would be a great start.
So you're saying do it like in France?
Yeah.
What's it called? Universal something. When one vote is one vote, end of conversation.
Yeah. One vote is one vote.
What is it called, baby? Oh, when one vote is one vote.
Oh, we've got a little silence here. And Natasha has frozen again. She'll come back to us with the answer. So instead of looking at her phone, for the viewer who pointed that out, she's now
representation.
Yeah. Proportional representation. I think it makes absolute sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a great way to actually have politicians possibly, and again, possibly, represent the actual interests of the voters.
Okay, I am so sorry. My camera's trying to get me to, actually my entire tablet is trying to get me to use some Google crap that of course messes up everything. But yeah, proportional representation. I mean, it's not rocket science. One person, one vote, and whoever gets the most votes is in. Yeah. That just seems so logical.
It does to me, and it would change the face of American politics dramatically, because right now with the Electoral College, really the people's votes are to some degree nullified. While many states have a mandate in place that the Electoral College must support the candidate who takes the majority of the votes, not all states have that, and there have been instances where the Electoral College did not vote the way the people voted. And I just see no reason for it. It was done to give lower populated states equal representation, but I think the Senate and the Congress allows for that because there are plenty of representatives that can represent, assuming they represent someone other than the corporate oligarchs, which right now is not the case. Here's something that people are asking for an investigation. One of the things that has been revealed is how incredibly wealthy our Congress and Senate is on a salary of $174,000 a year. Nancy Pelosi is coming very close to being a billionaire. And what's really interesting is that while Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez was fighting with and criticizing Nancy Pelosi, she lived off her salary, and she was in a shared apartment in DC. She had her place in New York, etc. The moment she stopped criticizing Nancy Pelosi publicly, she started to become a millionaire incredibly rapidly. She's worth about 174 million now, which is a shocking amount of wealth growth in a very short period of time. And people are calling for these politicians to be investigated so we know exactly where the money comes from. Is it all the stock market? Is it payoffs? Is it bribes? You know, a big audit of all the politicians. And I have the feeling, were that to happen, that we'd have about 80% resignations in 24 hours.
So let me calculate that. 174 million
Right.
on 174,000 salary,
A
roughly.
year. Right.
A year.
Just recently went up,
So
yeah.
that's 10 years would be 1.7. 100
Right.
years would be 17. So it's 1,000 years worth of salary.
Yeah. In a
Wow,
couple of
that's
years.
cool. Wow,
And
that's cool.
Nancy Pelosi last week, in 1 week, increased her personal wealth by 120 million.
Okay, I'd like to make that sort of money in a week.
Yeah, so would I. She's richer than any other politician in Washington right now. It's shocking to me how she has psychic abilities when it comes to the stock market, usually 24 hours before a vote.
That is weird. That is weird. If
So,
only she could, yeah, tell me the lottery numbers. I'd be happy with that.
yeah. My belief is that most of the Senate and Congress are in league with the corporate oligarchs, no matter which party's in power, and that they are using their votes to help the corporations, and the corporations are then giving them the insider knowledge. You know, we sent Martha Stewart to prison for that, and I think it's time to send much of Washington to prison for that.
And not Marine Le Pen.
No, not for 500 euro, which is what the claim is.
But she's also got 4 years of prison, 2 years suspended.
Is that what they sentenced her to?
Yeah.
For 500 euro. Wow.
Apparently.
That's a lot. So they really want to take her out. They want to take her out of the running. And
yeah.
I have no love for the woman, but I don't want to take her out for the running.
No, what's the point? It doesn't make any sense. You know why? Okay, I'm sorry, I adore the man, but Macron's rival last election was Marine Le Pen.
I know.
Coincidence?
No, I don't think so at all. And I'm not a fan of Macron either. I think he's done a lot of really bad things for France, but you
he
don't
may
put your
have.
rival.
You know what? He may have done bad things for France, but I think he's doing good things for Europe.
Do you? In what sense?
Waking up Europe and pointing out that maybe it's time we got our fingers out and starting defending ourselves.
Now, that's one of the things I most hate about him, because when they say defense, they don't mean defense at all. What they mean is war with somebody in order to further enrich the oligarchs. All war is a lie. All war is based on propaganda. Every war that's ever happened, except for maybe 2, has been based on lies, propaganda. We have to hate these people. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. I mean, if you listen to people like Macron, Russia has been taking over Europe for the past 400 years. And I went and reviewed all of that propaganda, and it's all BS.
Okay, but that's not what I meant. What I meant is I believe Europe is big enough to take care of itself, and it should stop relying on the United States for everything. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I don't think we should rely on the United States for everything either. I think we should realize that we're fine. We don't need
Yeah.
massive armies and weapons and nukes like the US does. You know,
Yeah,
we're fine.
yeah, exactly. But I think, we've been very, very complacent since 1941. Oh, that's all right. The US will cover this. Oh, that's all right. The US will cover this. And whatever. But no, okay? We're good. We're strong. We can do it, okay? Enough mamby-pambying. And I don't mean wars necessarily. I mean, I feel that Europe has been weakened by our reliance on everything for the US. We're like the little brother or sister.
Beyond
Enough.
defense, what have we relied on the US for?
Well, security.
In what sense?
Well, in it always feels like, oh, it's all right because the US are there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not anti-American. Well, I am now, but I wasn't anti-American. But it's just frustrating. No, I don't particularly think we should bring in conscription or things like that. But I don't know. It's just always, whatever happens, it always feels like for everything, it's all right. The US is there. And I think we're stronger than the US for everything, economically.
I would love to see NATO ended. I mean, I think it was a Cold War program. We promised it wouldn't continue. And NATO is the promise that the US will step in and solve everything. And that's what NATO is. And was the purpose of NATO. They were using their money and their military to guarantee security to all of these countries. And if they disband NATO, then I'm with you. But the first thing that has to happen is NATO needs to end.
But yeah, you see, it's not, when you talk about superpowers, you have, Russia, the US. Well, you should have Europe. And I mean superpower economically, superpower scientifically, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not militarily necessarily.
I would love to see Europe become more of a superpower in sciences, and even when it comes to the internet and all of the potential there, Europe is not a leader right now. You're right about that. There are good things happening in certain countries, but we're not the leader.
No, we're not. And we should be, if we put our head together. I think we should, really be able to sit there and say, look at us, we can do it. Or to take from Obama, yes, we can.
Yeah, well, I'd rather take nothing from Obama. The man who bombed how many countries and was given a Nobel Peace Prize. Not a fan. Boy, this guy's being Mr. Cuddle Bunny today. I think it's because the rain is very, very heavy here in Sevilla this morning. Or this afternoon at this point. And he knows that when the rain is heavy, he doesn't like to go outside. So he'll demand to go to school with me. And then the moment he steps outside, he'll want to go back inside. And school is where he gets, a good hour of cuddle time on my lap. He sits on my lap the whole class and barely moves. So now he's like, all right, I get my lap time now, Daddy, because you're going to leave me at home. He hates to be left at home, but he hates the rain more. What he doesn't understand is if it's raining, and he doesn't want to go out. Why am I going out? How stupid am I as a human to go out in the rain?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. Now, did I tell you or did I not tell you that David Tabizel was an amazing man?
You did, and I like him very much. We started talking, and it was like I was talking to a friend I'd known for 50 years.
You know, the interesting thing about David, I find, is that he has many friends and everything. He doesn't have an enormous amount of close friends because I think he's been burnt. But I really, really admire the men. You know, we were talking the other day about people that have started from scratch
Right.
and made it big. Well, you were saying, and you were probably right, that most of the people who started from quote unquote scratch started with $1 million and worked their way up.
Yeah, the
But
Jeff
Dave,
Bezos. Yeah.
yeah, but David really is someone who started with nothing. I mean, nothing, and made his way all the way up. You know, he really is an amazing, amazing man.
Yeah, I kind of got that, and I think that speaks to his lack of pretension. You know, people who start with the silver spoon in their mouth are often very pretentious and act like they are better than you because they truly believe that their parents were rich, therefore they are better. But he's very down to earth, loves to eat, my kind of guy. You know, I'm gonna send him an open
Oh,
invitation to come to dinner in Germany whenever he's in town.
and I have to say, you know, we have often had meals at his place, but even more
Hmm.
than that, we've often had New Year's Eve at his place because
Mm.
it's going to be a fiesta. You know, it's going to be food galore, wine galore, champagne galore, and it's going to be wonderful. So, no, he really is someone. He There's two things. One, sometimes he seems to boast, but it's not actually boasting because whatever he says, he has achieved. But other time, he's
Sure.
you know, puts, like you say, puts himself back and almost feels embarrassed with his achievements. But he really is such an amazingly fabulous man, and I think that's, you know, I wish he would have more confidence in himself. So there, I've said it.
Well, I think he probably does have confidence, or he wouldn't have started all of the things he started. I think he has confidence, but he's just self-effacing. And a lot of successful people understand that it's a combination of circumstances. No one does anything alone. No one does. Um, you know, you and I essentially began the chef tours. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't do it alone. You were there to help me and have been very supportive emotionally and otherwise. And, you know, during the first year, which was a challenge, and now it's getting much, much better. So, you know, when you always have help and you always have support, whether it's friends or family or whoever it is, you realize that you're part of something. You're not the sole driving force. You know, people, I credit you in the second book because you helped me. You helped me develop that book a little bit. None of us ever does anything alone. And I think David is just one of those people who realizes that he is part of a big world and that there's a lot of people out there that are helpful in many ways. And he's a part of that rather than, you know, a shark in the water by himself. That's kind of the sense that I got. He acknowledges everything and everyone around him. But, you know, you are frozen, so I'm just going to babble on again. um, it, one of the things that has happened in the U.S., and we'll go back to that since you're not talking at the moment, is the stock market has been tanking quite a bit. Um, and a lot of people vote their stock portfolios, not only Nancy Pelosi, who seems to have uncanny luck, you know. But 18-year-olds are saying that they feel like they're in a once-in-a-generation economic crisis. And they're not wrong. They don't own any stocks. The stock market doesn't impact them. But the minimum wage in the U.S. hasn't gone up for over 2 decades, while CEO salaries have risen hundreds and hundreds of percent, 900%, and real world salaries have risen only about 7%. So if you're 18 and you're starting out right now, you are starting with 1 foot in the debt prison and 1 foot in the grave. It's got to be a really, really tough road for young people who don't have rich parents, especially in the United States. And I'm watching this play out in real time, and I see the comments on Twitter and on the videos on TikTok from these young people who feel there's no future and no hope. They don't have anywhere that they can go in this world. And it makes sense to me. If I'm working for not very much money and I've gotten myself into debt, massive amounts of debt with college, then I would feel too that there's no future. And I hope we can find a way forward for them. The rain has just ended for the moment in Seville. I'm going to hope that has taken. But to get off the economic stuff for a minute, and when Natasha joins us again, we can get her take on that. Snow White has bombed entirely. We have 2 actresses in Snow White, one who supports Palestine, one who's a Zionist, former military. And depending on which political party you're in or which, fight you want to join, people are claiming that those 2 actresses are the reason for the tanking. But I think it's a little deeper than that. Snow White has been rewritten many, many, many times. I mean, the current Disney version or the 1937 Disney version bears no resemblance to the Grimm fairy tale. It doesn't. I mean, they're just completely different stories. But the 1937 version was really lovely and charming. And Disney did a beautiful film with the animated animals and the great singing, someday my prince will come. God, that's bad. So they did a great job of adapting it and making it a Disney product. The new film, I don't think is failing due to politics. I think it's failing due to the total rewriting of the story. The Queen is overbearing and she wants to control everything and everyone, much like almost every politician we've got these days. And as a result, Snow White fights for the freedom of the people. And they are dancing in the snow because she's Snow White, even though she's brown. It's a brown-skinned actress who's been cast. They're dancing in the snow. At the end, all of the people are now free from the rule of the Queen. But it sort of shows that in the history of the world, the moment we become free of a queen, we have some other oligarchical type step in, whether we pretend they're elected or however they step in. That takes the place and is equally oppressive. They want their taxes, they live a life of luxury, and they don't really care about the people. And that's what's obvious about the United States right now. My favorite review of the movie Snow White was when a reviewer said, if I were watching this movie on a plane, I would still walk out. I segued into the movie Snow White, which is being trashed by every reviewer of every political stripe for different reasons around the world. Have you heard about it?
Yes, I have. And we discussed it last week as well, because you were saying how in Brazil, Snow White refers to the teeth.
Right. And in the new movie, it refers to actual snow.
Yes, I know. It was snowing on the day she was born.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do love the review about if it was on a plane, I would still walk out. Indeed. I surprisingly have not watched it, but what I did watch, I watched 2 important films while I was in England.
Mm-hmm.
One was I finally got to see Seven.
7-1. Never heard of it.
Yes, it came out in the 90s, I think, or maybe early 2000s.
Oh, was it based on the 7 Deadly Sins with Gwyneth Paltrow?
And Brad Pitt, yeah.
That was
What's
actually
in
really
the box? That was
Yeah.
that was very good. It was on my list of things to watch, and I finally got to watch it.
You know,
And another
I was
film.
training Blythe Danner when he made that movie.
Well, there we go. And the other film which I watched, which I really loved as well, because it was based on a true story and a fabulous true story, is
Mhm.
Operation Mincemeat.
Never heard of it.
Yes, you have.
I
It's
have.
in World War II, they decided to try and fool, and by the way, successfully fool the Germans into believing they were going to invade Greece instead of Sicily by dropping a dead body in Spain with secret papers in in their in a briefcase. But if you haven't watched it, do watch it because it's on Netflix and it's very, very good.
Well, I don't have Netflix, but interesting. I know I'm looking at a summary of the movie. I never heard of this film ever. When was it made? Recently?
Not that recently. Well, yeah, maybe in the 20s.
2021. Okay.
There we
Colin
go.
Firth and Matthew McFadden, both actors whom I tend to like. Interesting. Oh, it's been adopted, oh my God, into more than one film. 2021
Yes.
is the most recent film, but there's also a musical comedy based on this. I'm not sure
Yes.
how it could be a musical comedy.
Me neither.
Uh,
But it
um,
was
and it got ecstatic reviews. It played in the UK.
yeah,
Wow. Now I want to
yeah.
see the musical. I'm not sh
Maybe you can catch it on YouTube. But the film was great
Wow.
and
All right.
incredibly close to the actual operation.
Interesting. It's, the only reason I ever watch films is when you tell me to watch them. So, you're usually right. So I'm going to look for this one and see if there's a way I can see it without getting Netflix. Oh yeah, okay, I can. It's on YouTube.
Okay. Hush, hush.
Oh, it may not be the current version, but that's okay. Yeah, it's the 2010 version. Okay. It's been made into a movie more than once.
Yes,
Interesting.
it has. And made it to a book.
Book, movie, and musical comedy. Well,
And you
the
know who's in
UK's
it as well?
who?
Ian Fleming.
Oh,
Because
James Bond?
we mustn't forget, no, Ian Fleming worked for MI5 as well.
Yeah, I know. But I mean,
Yeah.
was Ian Fleming the person in it or a character based on Ian Fleming?
Well, he's dead. So it was a
Right.
character. It was a character called Ian Fleming.
Okay. Which makes sense because he was part of that whole world.
Yes, indeed. Very much so.
Interesting.
Hmm.
It's warm today and raining, and this dog is feeling very hot on my lap, but I don't dare move him off while I'm sitting here still recording because he'll get very upset with me.
Well, we have reached a Eurotunnel, and it says timetable disruption.
I don't know what that
And,
means.
well, I don't know, but nobody seems to be able to register their car. So it should be an interesting check-in.
So you're doing a manual check-in somewhere right now?
No, we're right now 3 cars behind the check-in. Ah, somebody's just checked in. Okay. So we seem to be able to go there. I will, of course, stay in the car and continue with the show while Adam goes to Starbucks and gets us lunch and everything.
You eat the food at that place?
Yes, a muffin or something.
Okay. Interesting. I never go to Starbucks. Their coffee is burnt and disgusting, and I remember when they first started out, I went to the original Starbucks in Seattle and thought, this is so unimpressive. Why are they franchising this really bad coffee? But then they ultimately became what is a milkshake shop. They put sweetened goop into everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they don't serve much in the way of actual coffee these days. Coffee accounts for something like 4% of their sales. It's the flavored syrup milkshakey coffees that are, well, they're losing money right now, but they've just
Well,
hired a new CEO who came to them from Chipotle, and they think they're going to make money again.
to be honest with you, yes, we do go to Starbucks when we're here at the terminal, but as you know, in Berlin, there aren't that many chains. So in Berlin, I
No.
go to Cheetos, Adam goes to Coffee Drink Your Monkey, and we get decent coffee like this because, of course, who would go to a chain? I mean, I know there's a Cafe Einstein on Savignyplatz, but
Right.
wouldn't go there. And I don't
I
even,
went to
I
a
think
Cafe
that's German.
Einstein once when my friend Danny was in town and he'd heard it was good. The coffee tasted like water. It was terrible.
You have to remember something about Cafe Einstein. There are, or there were, two original Cafe Einstein. One of them was, thank you for the beeping. One of them was on Kurfürstenstraße. I think it has closed. And the other one is
And you froze. Oh, you're back.
on Unter den Linden. It is on Unter den Linden. Now, those are the original Einstein coffee houses. Okay. And I don't know where Cafe Einstein comes, if it comes from somebody who left those places and created those Cafe Einstein. But the original Einstein cafes, or Cafe Einstein, like the one on Unter den Linden, is fabulous and has nothing to do with Cafe Einstein, the chain.
Okay. I make my own coffee 99.9% of the time. I'm easy. I make Arabic style coffee. I bring the water to just before boiling, and I put 2 spoons of coffee in a cup, pour the water in, and then wait for the grounds to settle. You know, cowboy coffee, Arabic coffee, Greek coffee. I mean, it's that way in much of the world, and I like it. It's very strong. It's never bitter. And it has massive amounts of caffeine, which is what I'm drinking it for.
Now, the reason we go to coffee houses is because we're north facing. So that's the only place I get sun.
Ah,
If I sit outside in a coffee place and have coffee.
I'm not south facing. I think I'm, what am I? Let's see. If east is to the right and west is to the left, what? Then I am north facing. Yeah, but I get a lot of sun. Lots of sun. My living room is flooded with it.
Then you're south facing, which you are anyway.
I am south. No, I must be north facing.
Nope, you're south facing. Your
Wait a
flat
minute.
is
No,
south facing.
no, because east,
Yeah.
no, west is to the right
East
and east is to the
is,
left. That would make me north.
yes. No, south. North,
No,
south,
north.
west, east.
All right. You'll have
East.
to come over when I get back because I'm pretty sure I'm north facing. I'll get out a compass when
No,
I'm
I know
home
you're
and find
south
out.
facing. You are south facing. If
Hmm.
east is to your left,
Well, it's right.
and west is to your
Right. Okay.
So Adam is going to
Speaking
tech
of,
control first to
all
register
right.
Cozy.
Oh, of course. I I had my teeth cleaned here in Spain, and I have to get a crown, which I'm going to do actually in Turkey. I'm going to leave Spain and go to Turkey, get the crown, and then go back to Germany because in Turkey it doesn't cost anything, and in Spain it costs less. In Germany it costs thousands, a couple thousand. Turkey is the cheapest. So I got my teeth cleaned and the tooth prepared. I have a temporary on it now. And the dentist who did the cleaning said that I was, I think, B2 in the color, and I said, no, I'm A1. I've always been A1. And she said, no, 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 your teeth discolor as you age. Your teeth are darker now. She said, but I will try one thing. I will use a polish with 15% hydrogen peroxide that will take off all the stain. And when the stain is gone, we will do it for sure. So she did this, right? She polished it with 16% hydrogen peroxide. The water that came out of my mouth was black. And
Ooh.
she said, how much coffee do you drink? And I said, a lot, plus red wine, plus tomatoes, all the things that stain your teeth. And she got the chart out and she went, oh, you're A1. You are correct. I'm sorry, but I've never seen that much stain.
Yeah.
So,
Well, never mind. At least you live well.
yeah. And I'm glad she got the stain off. And she told me that when they start to stain again, to put just a little drop of hydrogen peroxide on a toothbrush with my toothpaste every month or so, and that would remove the stain on a regular basis. The challenge is that liquid hydrogen peroxide is not sold in Germany.
Really? What
Really?
about when you injure yourself? That's how you, that's how you wash off the blood and stuff.
That's one way of doing it, yeah. But it's not, you can't find it in a German pharmacy. They have to mix it up for you. And you
Oh,
need a prescription.
oh, well, maybe I should buy it in France on the way home then.
That was the last place that I got it was in Paris. I picked up a bottle and took it back. And I didn't take it back for me. I took it back. This is the way my brain works. I took it back just in case Mila was cut or injured at any point. I wanted to have a good doggy first aid kit ready.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, I can see some other people here that are going to go to the doggy control. There's a lovely Snoopy dog, Beagle, over there.
I love beagles.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
No, don't stop talking.
So
just 'cause
sorry,
you're
so
looking.
sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm at the terminal and I can see that there's a bit of an issue with the departures, as in canceled, and stuff like that. So that should be interesting
Are
how
you
to
at the
get back
ferry
to you.
point?
No, we take the shuttle.
What
We
is the
take
shuttle? Tell
the
me.
train. We take the train under the water.
Oh, the what is it called? The Eurostar?
No, Eurotunnel.
So there's a train that takes cars.
Yeah.
I had no
And
idea.
yeah, and it's a 35-minute crossing.
Right.
And you put your car on the train and you stay in your car and it's 35-minute crossing and it costs an absolute fortune.
How much does it cost?
200 and something pounds.
That's more than the passenger train with, a little bit of comfort.
Indeed, not to mention the ferry, which is like 50 pounds or something.
And you sometimes take
So,
the ferry,
yeah.
right?
Well, no, because Adam gets seasick. We do, but very
Oh.
rarely, really. Very rarely. Oh,
Adam is back.
Adam is back.
The
All
cat has
right.
been the cat has been registered.
Good.
So
Good.
he gets
Yeah, it's
upset if I call
interesting.
it the cat.
The pet passport thing, which is very common here in Europe. Your pet has a passport. It shows vaccinations. It shows everything you know, if you're going to travel to certain countries. I mean, I have Milo, exactly. I have Milo scheduled for a health certificate so he can go to Turkey. This is his, and he has
Yes.
to get a new pet passport because this has his Roxanne, who was his now
Yes.
past mommy, and Yasmin, who was his foster mommy. And so we're getting on the 14th a new passport for him as a service dog here in Spain that will have only my name on it, which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
I learned from Turkish Airlines that we're flying into Istanbul, Turkish Airlines, which I love, that the pet passport must be in the name of the person traveling with the animal with no other names who are not primary owners. So we have to replace it.
Oh well, fair enough. Milou, I'm on baby. Yeah,
Milu's making an
absolutely.
appearance. For
Yes,
those of you
indeed.
listening on the radio, Milu is a Boston Terrier. He looks like he's wearing a tuxedo at all times. And he's the sweetest
And
dog
he's
alive.
absolutely, totally agree with you. He really is. I love the dog.
Yeah. I got very lucky. The man who never wanted a dog got very lucky in finding the sweetest dog on earth and having that dog decide he was going to live with me no matter what.
Well, you know, he could do a lot worse.
I think he figured that out.
Yeah, very much so. You know, you're very attentive to his needs. You lead an interesting life. He's not bored,
Oh,
you know.
no.
So he could do a lot worse.
I feel sorry for dogs that spend their days sleeping on the couch waiting for their owners to return. You know,
Very much
that's
so, yes.
he doesn't have that life because he goes everywhere with me and he does tours with me. He does everything. And so he's always engaged and interested and smelling new things. I think Turkey will be in a year. This will be his fourth country with me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at least. Only?
Let's see. He's been to France, of course, which is where he came from, Germany, Spain,
Yeah.
and Hungary. It'll be fifth. It'll be
Yeah.
number 5.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It'll be number 5
At lea-
in less than a year because June 15th last year was his official date, which was also his birthday. So it was a gift for both of us.
There we go.
Yeah, he does well. And the rain has stopped, so he'll be able to go to school with me.
Oh, well, I'm glad about that. Because he doesn't like not going with you.
He does not. Last night, he had a lot of exercise yesterday because I had we were halfway to school. We had to walk home. That's a 45-minute walk because I left a pot on the stove. I had to turn that off, start the walk again. And we came home from school and I thought, this guy's tired. He was on his back, sound asleep. So I thought, okay, I'll slip out of the house without him tonight and let him rest, right? I took my shoes into the living room, put them on very quietly, went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, went to the front door. He was sitting there with his leash in his mouth waiting for me.
Yep. Do you know what? I'm not even surprised. I'm not even surprised at all.
It's like he reads my mind.
Yeah, I'm sure he does after all this time.
Not even been a year.
Well, yeah, but it's been a rather intense year. Like you say, he's
Yeah, I
always
guess
by
so.
your side. So,
Yeah. I don't know. His sleeping eye saw me moving shoes. I don't know, but it was very funny. And he was wagging his tail like, "You're not going to leave me at home. You're not leaving me here. You're not leaving me here. I'm going with you." And so he was a champion all night long. And then we get home and he wanted to play ball, which I thought, all right, at some point this energy has to end. We played for about 10 minutes and then it was he was out.
Yeah. 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 Darling boy. It is such a relief to know that he's ended up with you. It really is.
Yeah, you're a good boy. Are you a good boy? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very, very good boy. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
So I've been having
Oh,
fun experimenting in the kitchen a little bit with some of the Spanish ingredients. And it's leading me to sort of have new dishes in my head when I start doing the tours in Berlin, cooking for people again.
now, I've noticed that you have created the page on Facebook
Hmm.
for uh for the tour, which actually reminded me of something. You said that people join you on LinkedIn. Should we not have a LinkedIn page for
We
this show?
probably, yeah.
I think a LinkedIn page for this show with a link to it from both our um from
Bio.
both our LinkedIn page. Yeah. That might be an idea. I mean, we are on
Yeah.
Facebook, we are on YouTube and everything, but I think we should be on LinkedIn as well
Well,
because
I can.
we do have a lot of listeners. Thank you, all of you. And indeed, we have a lot of listeners. And I think if we were in LinkedIn, it would just be so much easier to find us.
Now, how often do you check the email?
Um, it'll tell me if I have notifications immediately.
Okay. So I don't
So
have that set up on any email because I don't want to be bothered when I'm not looking at my page. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't have notifications.
yeah.
So, guys, our email address is
freerangeexpat@gmail.com.
it's a little bit long, freerangeexpat@gmail.com. And Natasha Cohn and myself, Carl Wilder, are on LinkedIn. I don't get a ton of messages, but I do get an occasional one. And it's funny because my viral video has hit again. Um, so suddenly it's getting thousands of views again and being shared with more people. I have 2 coffee dates set up from people who contacted me through LinkedIn who want to meet me when I get back to Berlin. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know why, after a little bit more than a year, it suddenly reviralized itself, but apparently we're at, I don't know, 80,000 new views this past week.
Run that one by me again. What is 80,000 new views?
Remember that viral video I did? We had Shimon on
Oh,
the show.
yes. Yes.
It has reviralized, so it's been picked up again, and suddenly is hot on TikTok, Instagram, etc., with a whole bunch of new viewers.
Oh, well,
That's
that's very nice.
That's not
But then
very
again, you
common.
did mention it. You did mention
Maybe
it on the show.
that may be why. Yeah, and so I've
Yeah, you
had
did
several
mention
people
it
reach
on the
out to me.
show. So it's so it's probably very much people have gone to see it now that you mentioned it on the show. You see?
Right. That would make sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So I'm getting
So
contacts from that again, which is very interesting. I'm going to have coffee with 2 women who have been in Germany for about the same time as I have. We're neighbors, have never met, and they said that what I had to say about the employment scene, and one of them had 10 years experience as a bar manager. He's working as a bartender for a 24-year-old manager who has no experience, but has the right paper from the right university and is a native German speaker.
oh,
And apparently it's a disaster. Germany hotels, bars, restaurants, etc. If you're listening, stop being so nationalistic. Hire people who know what they're doing, and the language skills will come. When you work in a language, you learn it very quickly. The language I picked up rapidly was Italian because I was working in multiple Italian kitchens. And when you work in it, you find a way to understand, and you find a way to communicate, and eventually you get to a really good level. So even if somebody has A2 or only B1, if they've got the experience, the language will come.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. It's submersion works miracles.
Yeah, they call it immersion so that we don't drown while doing it, but immersion works as well.
Okay. To be fair, I've had 4 missed phone call while we've been talking in the last 5 minutes. So my brain is not quite working. So
Was your
I've had
phone calls from one of your kids?
Oh, yeah, and from my sister. So, who I will call when we're through
Okay.
in 10 minutes or 5 minutes even. When are we through?
Yeah, 5 minutes. We're through in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, which brings me back to something else. I didn't
Yes.
check, mea culpa, so you probably did, but did you put the videos of,
I tried.
again,
We
huh?
kept having interruptions in signal, and I did go to a hotel, and every time it rains in Seville, the signal is interrupted. We had, I was interrupted twice today, but fortunately for short enough times that I could pick up on what David was saying as soon as I came back. But Sunday was a monsoon, and nobody's internet was working well. It was worse than you in the car. It was start, stop, reject, start, stop. It was sort of the same thing when I went to send our recording to the station. I went to 3 different places until I could get a WeTransfer to actually go through.
Yeah, okay, so that's completely crazy.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, you seem to have frozen again.
Am I frozen? Yeah, I am frozen now.
Oh, careful, baby. There we go. It's probably me, not you. Remember, I'm in England, and oh, that's a lovely Mercedes. What is it? A Mercedes 500 SL. Oh, wow. Yes, it is a lovely Mercedes.
I don't know one
Anyway.
Mercedes from another. I think like most modern
it's a
cars look like cockroaches.
No. It's a Mercedes from the 80s. Little
Oh, okay.
two-seater.
Oh, one of the
Yeah.
cute ones.
Yes. One exactly like I was saying.
Okay, so
Cars
over
used to be cute.
at the Euro Shuttle, there is a new system of parking, which means that once you pass, you get your sticker for which thing you're going to. You actually have to travel for something like 3 miles to get to the terminal, which is about 200 yards away by foot. And same thing on the way back. Yes, so that's very, very practical.
Yeah. Not terribly practical.
Indeed. So typical.
Well, you'll be home soon. You'll be home soon. You'll be home soon.
Yes.
Click your heels 3 times.
No. Actually, no, because yes, we're back to in Berlin tomorrow, but Sunday morning we take the train to go to Dresden to the opera. So I won't be actually. Yes, I won't
What
actually
opera
be
are you
back
gonna
to
see?
Berlin. Lohengrin at the Semper Oper in Berlin, in Dresden.
One I have not seen.
It's a Wagner 6-hour opera, so
I know.
if
That's
you
why I
had
haven't seen
seen it, yeah, exactly. If you had seen it, it would have been an absolute miracle.
Yeah, no, it's Wagner. When it's Wagner, I just not my favorite. All right. Well, I'm so glad we had this time together. But special thanks to David for joining us this morning. And Natasha, thank you for carring it in again. This
Yes.
has got to be some sort of record for car shows. Okay. We'll see you all next week. Have a
See you all
nice
next week.
morning, afternoon, or evening.
Yep.